Walk Tornado. How are you? And today we're going to talk about side effects that might generate from alien abductions and what can they do to you throughout your life. So now it's rather important to talk about this because something irregular, something unusual that happens in our reality will certainly have side effects. And what are those side effects? So please stay with me in case something like this has happened to you. You also might be a UFO witness, and therefore this has impacted your life in some way. So please stay with me, and don't forget to subscribe here at the bottom right. Give it a thumbs up. That will be much appreciated. Thank you very much. So let's get right to it. As you probably know, if you watch my previous videos, I'm also a UFO orb phenomena witness, and such event that is highly irregular, unusual, that doesn't have any answers, no matter who you turn to, they might not be able to answer your question, might have some sort of negative effects on your life. Okay, it's something you just cannot explain to yourself, and there is nowhere to look for help. A lot of these things also happen to people who get abducted by aliens. Now, when those people are under hypnosis, they exhibit a lot of pain, a lot of fear, and a lot of screaming is going on, and it just seems like the whole experience with extraterrestrials is very negative one, rather. So therefore, such events that happen are pretty much irregular in our reality, and they're not natural as far as our evolution goes. So a lot of those people who have witnessed UFOs will have some sort of side effects from these events. So that's something that, it should be talked about, because a lot of people that experience such event don't necessarily want to talk about it, or not even to their friends. So that's why if you come across this channel, I would much appreciate it if you want to talk about something on this channel. Basically, this channel is less about entertainment and more about truth seeking, trying to get to the bottom of things, whether aliens exist or not. Although I did have someone comment under Real UFO Encounters video, and basically they talk about how they had a negative experience with aliens while they're being abducted. Happened to them when they were 6, and then happened to them when they were 37. So they don't really wish this kind of event to happen to anybody because they have a negative experience. As you know from abduction stories, a lot of these things happen when people are being examined, and all kinds of strange things have been performed on them for experimental reasons, and in many cases they experience a lot of pain. So and that's why we have to question, are such events that happen, such as this, what will happen to the evolutionary process when these things are happening? They seem to be very unusual, and therefore, we have to question them. Why are these things happening to us? And that will certainly have side effects on the way we progress throughout life, because such stories will be shared among other people, and is going to confuse a lot of people as far as our reality is concerned. It just doesn't mix well with our reality, our lives. Again, such events have definitely side effects that we have to be aware of, and is this really something that shouldn't be going on in our evolution? In previous video I talked about Bob Lazar and his story about 9 UFOs that perhaps they're pretty much a Pandora box, and they may be inserted into our evolutionary process, and that could have some sort of negative effects in our lives. It's very similar to injecting like steroids. It's just not natural. So we have to consider that, and why is this happening to us? should such things be happening, if aliens are intelligent, perhaps they should know not to tamper with any sort of natural progress of evolution that's going on. However, it could have been perhaps necessary to do such a thing, and that's another angle that we can look at it from. So perhaps the 9 UFOs Bob Lazar has talked about are perhaps necessary to boost our evolution process, speed up things. So, however, all these events people are reporting are rather negative in some ways, especially, for instance, when it comes to cow mutilation and things that aliens are performing on these poor creatures are basically very harsh. They result in death, and that's something we have to look at as well. However, not many abduction cases talk about such event, but was that necessary to do is the question. Do aliens know about that, and maybe it's necessary to do such a thing to kind of make people see the other side of things from another angle? And are these events happening because of that very reason? So, but in many ways, people change because such irregular things happened, and it changes their lives. Okay, it might turn their lives upside down, giving them different outlook on life. But it's not necessarily a positive one, because a person that's witnessed such a thing might not be able to continue with their life in a normal way of life, and they might be having problems later on in life by being exposed to such phenomena, UFO phenomena. Perfect example of that is Dr. Stephen Greer. Himself, he is a medical doctor. He has pretty much, I believe, 3 university degrees. And he was in his profession, and he was pretty much succeeding in his profession. But for some reason, he changed his course of career to research UFOs instead. To make such a drastic change, something must have happened to you. And it did. He witnessed UFOs when he was younger, and that sort of changed his perspective on view on life. And now he talks about that a lot. As you know yourself, if you watch Stephen Greer's documentaries, he is very knowledgeable in many things, especially when it comes to UFOs. He knows how to get to the bottom of things. But it did change his life a lot, turn his life around, and this is what I'm talking about, that such irregular events might have some sort of impact on your life. And in Dr. Stephen Greer's case, it definitely changed his perspective on life, and he started to question the existence of UFO phenomena. So those kind of irregular things that happen in our life, again, are they meant to be to shown to us, to expose to us, in order to change the course of our humanity? If any kind of extraterrestrial life that possesses superior intelligence probably know why such changes are necessary for humanity. They probably know the outcome of future, and therefore they try to help us not to run into the same problems. Now, there's a lot of talk about different types of civilization, type 1, type 2, type 3, and maybe with their help, we're going to change our course towards at least type 1 sort of society, where we're able to be more advanced. And then what would happen if such help from extraterrestrial wouldn't be exposed to us, and therefore we might never make it to type 1 civilization. So, and as you know, also Stephen Hawking talked about different types of civilization. Now, we have to understand that whatever it's happening, and we have to have a faith that perhaps all that is necessary throughout life as far as our evolution goes, and and perhaps such events rather happen for a reason. But again, we have to question that if such events are actually healthy for evolution. Because again, it's very similar to like taking drugs or cheating on exam test. Such help that's being given to us might actually have consequences, because such evolutionary process is not a normal way of evolution. So we have to question that and understand that that could have consequences. And again, such consequences are very evident amongst abductees and people. But the question is, or what it seems to me, that a lot of abductees that actually have experience with UFOs in able to physically communicate with them while they've been abducted or taken aboard the flying saucer seem to have not necessarily too much consequences or psychological effects that happen to them. However, such interviews, such as Barney and Betty Hill interview or Bob Lazar, are very important piece of evidence that we should look into, that can reveal if such people have some kind of psychological effects because of such trauma that happened in their life. To see something very unusual that there's no explanation for, that pretty much no one can help you if you happen to run into this problem. Although it seems to me that there is not much side effects as far as abductees goes, people who have physical contact with aliens who've been taken aboard a flying saucer and are actually being conscious about situation at the moment, but they don't seem to have any negative effects, especially when they've been in close proximity with those extraterrestrials. However, it seems to me that although it did impact their lives in some ways, and not just from extraterrestrial side, but also from society, from both sides, that this might have some sort of impact on their life, whether it's for fame or any kind of negative things that might arise in their life because of such phenomena. People might think of them as being crazy. And not just that, but I saw it in many videos that follow afterwards, and this orb phenomena is now becoming common. So I don't feel so alone when it comes to this kind of strange events. And also Dr. Stephen Greer basically is able to show to a group of people such phenomena, such orb phenomena, by actually trying to communicate with them. If you haven't seen his documentaries yet, it definitely helps you understand. It definitely helps you to understand that there's more people out there that witness such strange events, and you don't feel so alone regarding this issue. And for the longest time, this thing that happened to me kind of stayed with me, but I never talked about it. And I made several videos now about UFO orb phenomena, and you might want to have a look at it. So again, such events could really impact your life in some ways or the other. They could have side effects on you, and cause problems in your life, because it's just not something that can be explained easily, or get some kind of information regarding such phenomena, and you really don't have anybody to turn to, especially when you're a kid. It's difficult for you to even talk about it. You might keep this inside and not talk about it to your parents or whatnot, and so it's important that you might want to research this further on YouTube and find out what these orbs are all about. Personally, I don't have an explanation for what they are, but I do know that these orbs are in our lives, and it's turning our reality slowly upside down in a way, because it's basically pulling something out of a science fiction movie and pretty much mixing it in with our reality, and we just don't have an explanation for this. Basically, it's some sort of UFO phenomena. However, it's possible that there are just extraterrestrials who are trying to communicate with us and basically try to establish some sort of language or communication, which I talk about it. You might want to check the the intergalactic language. That's the video I made about what sort of communication we should look at or use in order to communicate with aliens. Again, I talk about that a lot of this language that extraterrestrials will be using with us will be something that naturally occurs in the nature, such as colors, sounds, quantity, and symmetry, like crop circles. So that's the type of communication that aliens will try to work on us. But again, crop circles don't necessarily mean that, that's the language they like to use, if crop circles are authentic. And I do believe that some of them are authentic, at least, because there was a video that proved that there were orbs flying nearby it when those crop circles were being created. So it's definitely a language that they're trying to communicate, they're trying to use to communicate with us. Except, again, it's very particular to UFOs, to them, which we might not understand. So again, that's why the video that I made, the intergalactic language, that every single race, extraterrestrial race, should be using, because we just don't have a common language. But the only common language that we could use is basically something that everybody can understand, something that naturally occurs throughout the universe, again, such as colors, sounds, quantities, and etc. Something that naturally occurs, and we have reason to assume that this kind of things also happened on other planets, and that's the only language that we can use. And that's why I explain that orbs, they like to use color orange, and that's something that they use a lot, which is a friendly color to humans, and it's something that we can understand, than supposed to color red or some other color that actually could mean danger. So colors will be something that will be used a lot in communication, and we should realize this, not just ourselves, but every race out there in the universe should realize that, with or without communicating with anybody, they should realize, or we should realize, that should be some sort of language that we should be all able to understand. It's something that, it's a question that's logical. It's a logical conclusion that we cannot use personal language to communicate with aliens. It just is not going to work, because we don't know the gap in the evolutionary process, we don't know their culture, and they don't know our culture. So we have to agree on some sort of language, and that's why the video that I made, the intergalactic language, should be some sort of idea like that we should be able to communicate with every race out there that has some sort of intelligence similar to ours. That's the sort of language we need to use in order to communicate with each other. However, again, such events, like I said, could have negative effects. However, such events, such UFO phenomena could have some sort of negative effects on our lives, but we do have to question if such events are necessary in order to change the course of life. Maybe they know something that we don't know. Maybe they see something on our way that we don't see. Could have been a disaster of some sort, or they have an experience by learning from other extraterrestrial planets or extraterrestrial life out there, that something happened to them, and they're trying to help us by changing our course of life. Such UFO technology that Bob Lazar talks about could only have one a good reason for us to use is basically to understand it, and that could actually help us to evolve faster as far as technology is concerned. So those kind of 9 UFOs that Bob Lazar is talking about could perhaps be injected into our evolutionary process on purpose. So we have to look at that, and these alien abductions that are going on, are they necessary for us to kind of open our minds to the possibility of extraterrestrials, and that the fact that there are different life forms out there, and perhaps the future does not necessarily lie down here on Earth, but more so in outer space, because the future has probably already happened and they've been through such evolutionary process. Now we have a lot to gain from this, because we can make a shortcut to such advancement in technology by just looking at this 9 UFO gifts that we got from aliens, extraterrestrials, if Bob Lazar's story is true. And that can definitely help us to increase our chances of survival in case there is some sort of potential threat in our future down the road that we don't see, but extraterrestrials do. And we have to understand why those UFOs were given to us. So anyways, that's pretty much what I would like to talk about today. And if you have something to say, you would like to comment, just comment below. And maybe something happened to you like that. You saw an orb, you saw a UFO. Like I said, somebody comment they actually been abducted by UFOs, and that's the whole purpose of this channel, to kind of talk about it. Maybe something like this happened to you when you were a kid, and you don't want to talk about it. So I encourage you to get it out of your system and talk about it. So anyways, I would just like to thank you for staying all the way till here. If you follow my video, I would thank you very much. And I post videos every day, every second day, every third day, and there's always something new that comes up. So please don't forget to subscribe here at the bottom right. Give it a thumbs up, that we much appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I will talk to you next time. So please come back to see what's going on. Cheers, peace. Thank you very much.